My name is Lucy, and today we did a Revolutionary War like representation. Um, Me and a couple of other kids who are very tall and strong, we were on one side, and we were the British Army. The other side, which is the Continentals, they were um, the smaller people, um, and um, they had less people than us. Um, so now I'm going to answer some of the questions that um, you probably are asking. So here's one of the questions I'm going to answer. Why is the blue team smaller and had fewer people? Well, in the representation, the blue team was smaller and had less people um, because the Continentals were smaller and they weren't trained and everything, and the British Army was the strongest army in the world at that time. So that is why the blue team was smaller and had fewer people. Now I'm just gonna. The red team represented England, which was my team. That's the one I was on. The blue team represented the Continental Army in colonial militias, I think it's called. The white team, there was also a white team that represented the countries that helped the Continentals win the war. So the, the white team consisted of some neutral kids, some medium average kids. So there was the the white team represented Spain and France. Those are the two countries that ended up helping the Continental Army win the Revolutionary War. And now, why was so in um the blue team um hang on. So here we go. It The next question is, why was the red team bigger and had more people? I kind of explained this already, but I'm going to explain it in more detail right now. So the red team was bigger and had stronger people because that represented the British Army. And at that time, the British Army was much stronger and more trained and um, more skilled than the Continental Army. That is why the red team, the British team, had a lot more people because that's how it was in time. The British had a lot more people than the Continentals, and they were more skilled and stronger, and um, had a lot of experience in fighting in wars. Now the next question is, why did the white team come into the tug of war late? So um, the white team in the representation had to count to 20 as fast as they could, and then they come into the war. They came in late because when the Spain and France were not in the war at the very beginning of the war, but at representing the 22nds, they came in after and helped, and then the Continentals they supplied food and loans and clothes and good supplies for these Continental armies because they supported the fact that the Continentals should have freedom. Now, why was the blue team offered a prize if they won, but not the red team? So, the blue team was offered a prize in the representation because the stimulation, because the blue team had a lot more motivation than the red team. The red team just wanted to own the Continental Army, or the Continentals, the 13 colonies, whatever you want to call them. And then, so they just wanted to keep them under their control. So in the tug of war, I'm just gonna stop and give you a really quick fact. So this side was the red team, and this side was the blue team. The blue team had a lot more space to pull, and we had 20 actual seconds to do this. So the red team, there was a rug, and if you did not make it to the rug in 20 seconds, the Continentals won. That represented how the Continental Army didn't like win the war by killing the most people or like winning like a big prize or land or something. They just wanted to stop the British Army from taking control over them because they thought all the laws and taxes were unfair. So we, the Reds, we did not win because we did not make it to the road. They had a lot more people, and with all of those people, their army was stronger than the British. Now, and so the blue team was offered a prize, and that represented their motivation to win their freedom. So the prize was silly. It was like if you can switch out like some of your spelling city time for 3 games that you actually would like to play, like fun games and stuff. But that represented their motivation to win, and that represented why they wanted to win the war. And now, why was one person pulled aside and told they would not receive a prize? So this one person on the Continental team represented all of the slaves that fought in the war. They were not offered a prize of freedom because they would still have to be owned by a person. So they did not gain their freedom, but they fought in the war and helped the Continentals get their freedom, which is not fair because slaves should get the same amount of freedom as everybody else. Luckily, slaves are not around anymore. They've fought for their rights and they've gotten freedom, and that's good. Why was the white team told to cheer for the blue team? The white team was told to cheer for the blue team or help them because the white team represented Spain and France, who later in the war helped the Continentals by giving them food, money, like loans, clothes, supplies, guns, muskets, stuff like that. And they helped them win the war. And why did half of the red team have to start so far away? So there was about 10 British people, and 5 of them had to go stand on the side. And then when our teacher said go, they were allowed to run in and help us. But so in the beginning, there was only 5 people tugging at the rope. That represented how some of the soldiers had to come a long way from England, and they had to help later in the war. They had to help the British later in the war because it was a long journey, and that represented how they had to struggle a little bit to get the exact help that they needed, and that's one reason that they did not win the war. Why did the red team have to pull the rope so far, while the blue team only have to prevent the red from doing so? That represented how, like I said before, the British Army had to pull it to the rug, which is like all the way over there, and the Continentals only had to prevent them from doing that in a certain amount of time. There was a lot of people on that team. They were strong, they were powerful, they were motivated, and that's a reason why they won. Their motivation was one thing, but in my opinion, if I was a slave and I did not get any freedom from my condition, I would not have helped with the war because I would have been protesting, kind of. So that was a little because the carpet was like all the way over there, super far, and the Continentals, the British had to get there, and the Continentals only had to prevent them from doing so in 20 real seconds. In your opinion, was this a good way to learn about the big ideas in the Revolutionary War? Why or why not? I think it was a good simulation to have for this lesson because it really helped me understand how how it happened, like how um, one end was bigger than the other end, but one end had more motivation. So that's why they won, and that they had help and from other countries that believe that they should be free. Um, those are all the questions I have answered for this video. Thank you for watching. Bye.